Oh. I had muted him.
Oh, sorry, I forgot you said that.
The blue.
Okay. Yeah. Wait, what?
Are we ready to?
Yeah.
Does it take a minute?
I don't think so.
Good afternoon, everybody. Today is Monday, September 20th. It's 2:00 p.m. This is the meeting of the Landbank Committee. We have several items on the agenda. And the first thing that I'd like to do maybe is just call the roll. Mr. Harris, Commissioner Harris?
Here.
Mr. Holliday is going to be Aaron Blair.
Here.
Chief Oliver
Here.
and Brendan Heil.
Here.
All right. The first thing on the agenda, as normal, are approval of the minutes from the prior meetings. We have two sets of minutes, minutes from 5/17/2021 and 6/7 of 2021. Did everybody get a chance to review those minutes?
Yes.
I'll recuse since I was not at those prior meetings.
Okay. And we're looking for approval or any changes that anybody sees necessary.
I move that we approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
Okay. And I will just go ahead and take roll call then. Commissioner Harris,
Yes.
Chief Oliver,
Yes.
Mr. Heil,
Yes.
and Ms. Blair is abstaining. Okay. All right. The first two items are in the old business category. We did hear these at a prior meeting. They've just gotten some revisions, or we're just looking to see if there's any new information found. The first one is 318 Reese Street. This was previously tabled. This was Ms. Cheryl Smith, resides at 322 Reese Street. She requested ownership of 318 Reese for sole ownership. And she would like to use this as she takes care of triplet grandchildren. And she would like to utilize this space as more yard space for those grandchildren. And she would eventually fence it in, possibly a pool. The other thing that she says is a concern to her is that there are actually two vacant lots. And they go up to the drive-through that's there, and she says there's a lot of traffic, foot traffic through those properties, a lot of people leaving trash, and it's basically another reason is a safety concern. The reason that it was tabled was that I believe the conversation was that since there are two lots there, it may be utilized to combine those lots and for development. So we are just looking at if there's any new information, which I don't have any new information, but if anybody would like to untable that or just leave it on the table for a future meeting, I'm good with that as well.
I think Mr. Holliday was going to see if he might
Yeah.
have more information before we discussed it.
Do you have any?
This specifically, I can say overall, we've talked as a community development department that we were running with a very small staff for over 2020. There was a huge market disruption in 2020, obviously with COVID, and now we're getting a lot of revitalization, development interest in the city as a whole, specifically when we're talking about our walkable corridor streets, our walkable streets that are near and around downtown, kind of like the most historic street grid of the city. So for this application as well as all of them, I think that it can be a great strategy to table or deny requests and maybe give us a year to restaff and update our comprehensive plan and think about from a high level of the interest of the city, what parcels could be most developable versus what could be utilized as extra yard space for adjacent parcels. This one specifically, we do have a business interest on the Hancock corridor, and this is really adjacent to that. So if we saw some renewed businesses along Hancock, I could see a really nice, duplex on these two lots together as opposed to it just being a yard, which would be a nice transition between the drive-through and the single-family neighborhood along Reese. So that's a little bit more of a high-level comment, but I wanted to put that out there.
Did the community development department kind of have a recommendation that like this lot is better for development versus, because I think that's kind of where I am today, is we just need to decide either yes or no as to, do we let this person add to their property, or is this site really going to be a new home sometime soon?
Yeah, that was the part of the conversation internally, was that maybe can we deny this year and give it a year and then make a commitment to reach back out to this applicant and see how the market goes over the next year. So that was what we talked about internally.
Yeah. Yes, I think overall, I agree with those comments, just because who knows as far as, I guess we can't really timestamp it or really look into the future too much. But, that being said too, with it being there on Reese Street, I could certainly see, sort of the wake from, downtown sort of trending that way, and hopefully in the very near future. So I think it might be a good idea to, sort of table this and maybe take a look at it somewhere down the road.
Do you want to table it, or you want to make a motion to deny it and then maybe reach out to?
So first, I'm going to move that we remove it from the table to consider it.
Okay.
Anyone want to second that?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay.
Do I need to
I don't think so.
do a roll or
No.
all in favor or anything?
So then I guess for me, the question, I think maybe the motion could be to deny it, but under the condition that if they want to reapply in the future, after working with our community development staff, if there isn't a development opportunity within, a time frame, that we're not going to hold it against them because they've had a previous denial.
Oh, okay.
I mean, other than just keeping them in limbo for,
Right.
I understand that. Yeah, you got a good point.
I mean, unless someone really, I'm of two minds though, like, someone wants to use it now versus are we really going to see something soon?
Well, I think she makes very good points. I just think it needs to probably be communicated back to the applicant so they sort of know where things stand ultimately too.
So I would move that, to deny the request for 318, but that denial not prohibit them from reapplying in the future.
Second.
Okay. And then for the roll, Commissioner Harris,
Yes.
Chief Oliver,
Yes.
Mr. Hyle,
Yes.
Ms. Blair.
Yes.
Right. Okay, item number 2, we have heard at a previous meeting as well. Kind of similar. There are 2 parcels, 2 city-owned parcels. The applicant is looking for additional area at her property. So she lives at 1127 East Parish Street, and the application is for 1129 East Parish Street. Mishala Schreck is the owner of 1127, and there are 2 vacant lots next to hers, 1129 and 1131. And this was presented at a prior meeting as a mo-to-own sale, where she would pay an earnest money deposit and do in-kind maintenance. This application was denied because this parcel does not actually fit into the mo-to-own guidelines. This parcel is 40 by 130, and the maximum requirements for mo-to-own is 40 by 125. So she did revise her application, and she's willing to pay the fair market value price, which is $7,440. She does plan to make an addition onto this house that she purchased at 1127, and that will be her permanent residence someday. But she has not presented any plans as of yet as to what she's going to do to this house. But she does wish to add on to the house, and that additional yard space will be there as well. So that is really all that I have on this one, is that they modified their application and they'd like to pay for the entire parcel.
I think it's helpful to mention on this one that Ms. Schreck at 1127 already has a double lot, so there's a significant property width where that she currently owns, and that the two, while she's revised this application to try to just get one single lot, there are two next to each other, which could be a good development site if those two were to go together for something new.
Is the one on the other side vacant?
It is, there is like a full
Okay, it's just a-
foundation on it.
Oh, okay, that's what that is.
So she's got the third parcel in, which is a double lot
Right,
existing.
yeah, okay. Thanks. Is there a recommendation from,
I mean, from a planning
office.
perspective, one of the biggest reasons we're seeing so much development interest in the city of Sandusky is nationally, people are interested in walkable places. They're interested in these kind of gridded streets, smaller lots. And that's one of the reasons that makes us viable and interesting right now. And if we start massing wider and wider parcels, then you reduce walkability because you're pushing houses against, like, further away from each other. I'd rather see the two on the edges combined to make a development site and see somebody build something on that. Again, we don't know if the market is strong in this area, but because we had that disruption, I'd rather see it sit for a year and see if anybody would be interested in combining those two parcels to build something new or purchasing one to build on rather than just continuing to expand one homeowner's property.
so is the recommendation to deny the request?
I would make a similar recommendation to deny this request, but not prohibit that from approaching us maybe in 1 year to see what the market does if we get development interest in a year.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Okay, and, all right, I will take roll on the motion and the second to deny. Mr. Harris
Yes.
and Chief Oliver,
Yes.
Mr. Heil,
Yes.
Ms. Blair.
Yes.
All right, that is denied. All right, item number 3 is new business. We've not heard this one yet. The request is for 925 West Monroe Street. I will get a picture up here quickly here. Amber Thompson is the property owner at 921 West Monroe Street. And she does own this property. It's a multifamily property. She actually owns 2. She owns 921 and 915. She resides in the 2-structure unit, and 921 houses several others. I believe she mentioned that she had 8 tenants. So I believe that's combined between the 2 properties. The property is zoned as residential business, and what she intends to do, or what she would like to do, is to put a parking area for her tenants in that vacant area. And I'm not sure which picture is best to keep up on the screen, the actual or the auditor's vision. But she does want 10 parking places, and she did also provide kind of a picture of her computer screen. It's a little fuzzy, but she does have, I believe, 10 parking places. 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 9. 9 or 10 parking places on her visual here. She would purchase the property outright for $4,310, which is the auditor's valuation. And I believe she would have to combine this with her current property in order to do something like that, what she wishes to do. That is all the information that I have on this one. I'll leave it up for discussion.
Is the plan to actually pave?
AD requirement on
Yeah,
site
right,
plan
that was-
approval.
Okay.
I did some research on this one, so in the report it says 915. What I could see is that Ms. Thompson owns 921 and 919, which are
Okay.
contiguous to each other next to this vacant parcel. So I'm a little bit on the fence. I mean, overall, I think that my prior statements have said that I'd rather see a building than a parking lot, or I'd rather see a building than a vacant lot. On the other hand, since there are so many tenants residing there, it could be valuable to put, if it was a nice paved lot with some improvements there, it could add to a beautification of the area, at least to some degree. I went out and drove the site today and looked at the alley. So there's alley access. She would not be asking for a curb cut on Monroe, which I think is important to note, because we would not want to see a curb cut onto Monroe there. There is a structure. Is the applicant present on this case?
She's not.
Okay. There's a structure behind what we're looking at in like the White House in the picture on the right. There's a structure behind that looks like it was a garage at one point. It's cinder block, and I took a couple pictures. There's a dumpster back there. There's stacks of tires, and there's some plywood that's boarding up one side. There are water meters on it, so I'm not sure if she has tenants in that structure. It looks like there could be room to improve 4 to 6 parking spaces on her existing parcels rather than taking over another one. I'd love to see some improvement and beautification and maybe turn that back into a garage or turn it into some higher quality residential units on the parcel she already owns. She's owned this since 2019, before she would take on another project like this, because that's all from public view, from the public alley. But I'm open to what the commission's thoughts are on this one. Committee, excuse me.
I guess my question is there other parking available to them nearby?
There's parking on McDonough on the street. When I was
On
over there
street
today,
parking.
there was at least a dozen spots open along
there
that
is.
street. And there, like I said, there's room on the back of that parcel for probably 4 to 6 spots. It looks like on the 2019, or the 919 site, there might be some space where they could take some yard and make property, although, taking yard for parking isn't always an ideal solution either, so. Yeah, my biggest question was like, how is that garage being utilized as that living space? And there was definitely room for some parking in the alley on her existing property.
Yeah, kind of to add to Aaron's comments, I believe, if my memory serves me right, so the property that she owns to the right of the gray one, I believe they're actually doing some exterior work now. And it has been a few years, but I have ridden back there to look at this property when it was actually for sale at one time. And it does look as if that structure in the back could, or has been apartments or could be future apartments. And so I think I would probably base my decision off of kind of like perhaps maybe like a wait and see approach, kind of, further develop things prior to just, before we, just decide to sell this vacant lot to her to create parking spaces. I think I would kind of like to see those, come a little bit up to par prior to doing so.
I tend to agree with that. When I was reading this, turning land into surface parking lots isn't usually the best use for it, so unless there's a really good reason, which is why I was asking about the additional parking. And if there is some nearby street parking, I'm not sure how much of a parking concern we're really alleviating by taking something that could be developable. I mean, it's a pretty big parcel.
Yeah, it's
It is.
55 feet wide, I think.
It's solid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So-
think the demolition occurred in 2019 or 20.
Okay.
Oh, so there was a
So it
building
hasn't-
recently
Yeah, it wasn't
there.
that long ago.
Okay,
Yeah, it's
all right,
very
yeah.
recent. Very.
Yeah, I would move to deny this application.
Second.
Okay. And then for the roll, Commissioner Harris, motion to deny.
Yes.
Chief Oliver,
Yes.
Mr. Hyle,
Yes.
Ms. Blair.
Yes.
One is denied. Next on the agenda is 527 McDonough. This one, I believe, is also a recent demolition. I could be mistaken. I'll get to the report here. Oh, I'm sorry, we acquired this property after a demolition in probably 18 or 17. So Marcia Kiefer, she resides at 505 Oakland Ave, but owns property at 523 McDonough. She is requesting the vacant parcel next to her property. And in this case, she does already own another vacant lot on the other side of her property. Let's see. The city acquired this land in 2020. They were faced with tax foreclosure and due to a demolition assessment. So in lieu of foreclosure, the previous owner deeded the property to the city. It's zoned R2F, two-family residential. And this one is a 33 by 132, which would make it eligible for mo to own. You can kind of see, I can zoom up on the screen here, but the parcel that she's looking at has, it looks like a gravel pile on it. And then the picture next to it kind of does show that there's a lot of green space on the other side of her property as well.
And did you say that the owner owns not both, but the other adjacent
Yes,
parcel
on the
that's
other
vacant?
side. Yes. Yes, they do.
Which is bigger?
Yeah, it looks like a 150-foot depth parcel or so, the two northern parcels that she owns.
Okay, so she owns 523, correct?
Yes.
And 521?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay,
got it.
all right,
Okay, I follow
all right.
you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So 523 does have the structure on it that you see in the picture. And she also owns 521. It's land to the, I guess, north on the auditor site.
Yes.
She's, the fair market value, according to the auditor, is $6,200. Due to a mo to own request, she would only pay an earnest money deposit of all the expenses that we've incurred to acquire the property, and then the rest would be paid in kind maintenance. Taxing districts will begin collecting taxes again. And if this should be approved by this body, a purchase agreement will be sent to City Commission for final approval.
I'm a little torn because this is not that big of a lot.
It's a narrow lot, that's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah,
Since she's already combined two north of that, I would hesitate to grant her request to this one. Although if the owner directly south, since they already have a really shortened parcel, wanted to do the mo to own or move, they were interested, I'd rather save it for them or potential development rather than combine 3 lots in a row again on our kind of most gridded streets of the city.
Yeah. That's kind of why I'm torn, is normally I think that this is probably a mo-to-own lot, just the way it's like kind of sandwiched in there,
It's
but
pretty narrow.
it's pretty narrow. There's a lot of other property around it. Hard to get a full development on there unless we're building like townhomes and all of a sudden.
yeah.
It's a small lot, single-family home would
Right.
just, similar to the character of the
Yeah, it would be
street
very
already.
similar to which was probably what was there prior, but, I mean, that's a big parcel, and they're not utilizing, they are in a sense, but not with any structures on the parcel to the, I don't know if that's north or south, but north, which would give them the opportunity to, I know it's not adjacent to the current driveway, but it would give them the ability to build a garage behind the current structures, and it's a lot of space already. I don't know. Anybody have any other thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know when that picture was taken, but I kind of agree. Not that really has too much to do with price eggs, so to speak, but I wonder if there might be any interest from the neighbor.
Yeah, will you scroll down, Debbie, where you went before with the parcel view?
the parcel view?
Yeah, I think
I
that's
can
helpful
say
to
the
see.
neighbor to the south, you can see in this picture, I just took it Thursday. It looks
Okay.
like they're doing some.
Well, and that was,
Exterior.
yeah, and thanks for pointing that out, because that was the point I was gonna make, is there might be some interest from the other owner.
Somebody else the opportunity,
Yeah,
same thing.
yeah, I think if this parcel would be combined with another parcel, it'd be better suited to combine with the parcel to the south, since this current applicant already has two. And that 531, the parcel directly to the south adjacent to this parcel is, it's such a short lot. There's a lot more limitations.
So,
Yeah.
I'll make a motion
Sure.
to deny it.
I second that, yeah.
Okay, roll call on the denial motion. Commissioner Harris,
yes.
Chief Oliver,
Yes.
Mr. Heil,
Yes.
Ms. Blair?
Yes.
All right. I'm not having any luck today, am I? I'm teasing. Okay. Next on the agenda is an application for a mow-to-own request for 1722 Harrison Street. Let me get to it here. So Harrison is Sean Amison. He owns the property at 1730 Harrison Street, and he's requested ownership for 1722 through the Mow-to-Own program. He expressed interest in the vacant lot to add to his existing area of property that he owns and possibly expansion in the existing future. I have not seen this current application. I apologize. I didn't have it in the file. But Mr. Amison is here, if I miss correctly, if I incorrectly state anything. In the report, it states that the city has not offered to sell this vacant land in the past due to the fact that if the northern parcel was ever acquired by the city, the two parcels would be combined, making it a more suitable parcel for new construction. And then added, it is important to know that the same request was heard in 2020. The minutes are included in this report, and a similar request directly across the street. I believe it was 17, directly across the street was, it doesn't really have it's around 1721 to 1723 Harrison, was also denied in a 2021 meeting. We acquired this property that we're speaking of in 2013, and a structure was demolished, leaving a vacant lot. It's zoned R2F, two-family residential, and the dimensions are 36 by 129. And I don't have a current photo you can see, but Mr. Amison has done some amazing work on his 1730 property, so this was actually a picture taken after his beautification request. So you can see this vacant lot in the middle here. The purchase price will be no less than fair market value, which is $5,020. Being that it's a mow-to-own property or eligible property, Mr. Amison can pay the earnest money deposit for any expenses that we've incurred on the property and finish payment with in-kind maintenance. If it's acquired, the taxing districts will begin collecting taxes again. And again, if it is approved, we would send a purchase agreement then through City Commission for final approval.
I take it the city has not acquired the property just to the north that was tax delinquent in 2020?
Yeah, it is still tax delinquent. And in the meeting, I do recall that in the meeting, we were, I don't want to say hoping that it would go into foreclosure, but we were going to see, if it does go into foreclosure, we're certainly going to request it to combine those two vacant areas.
And we don't know if it's gone into foreclosure
It's
yet?
not in foreclosure quite yet. It's still tax delinquent. I think it just takes a while to get to that process. They have to be at least 2 years delinquent, 2 full years, taxing years delinquent. So anybody in 19 would be up for foreclosure now.
I have similar comments from previous applications that the applicant already has a double lot, and I would hesitate to grant a triple lot just for a single-family home. And that's in addition to, the potential that we could combine to the northern vacant lot that is potentially going into foreclosure. I don't have a good sense of the timing of these things. And maybe it's another wait and see, I don't know.
I mean,
Interested in your thoughts?
My thought, in this case, since it's been over 18 months since this person requested it previously, I don't want to keep people in limbo, especially since we just made the same argument for 3 other properties that, like, if we can't do something within a year, or if we can't assemble the parcels, we don't want to see these things not go back on the tax roll. So I think I'm actually in favor of granting this since it's been so long and we haven't been able to acquire the northern parcel.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's 18 months from when we said we were going to require it. So, like, this thing should probably have been or already be close to foreclosure. And if we don't have an idea of what we're going to do with that, I would lean towards granting this request.
Well, in addition to Mr. Heil's comments too, sometimes I try to take into consideration like the location of where these parcels are. And that being said, you kind of take into consideration, like, what is the likelihood, that somebody's going to look to develop this space? Obviously, nothing against those neighborhoods, but I guess, also you have to be realistic. And so then I also take into consideration, like, our, very early discussions about, about the MacArthur Park area and how we actually would love to work with those people within those neighborhoods to, maybe expand their footprint to allow for future development. And as Mrs. Eversole stated earlier, Mr. Amison certainly has made improvements, significant improvements to his home and has worked with the city in the past. So I would be inclined to, allow him the opportunity to, to do just that, to build upon what he's already done. And I know 1726 was acquired through the county land bank as well. So, my suggestion would be to approve this.
Unless there's other comments, I would move that we approve this Modone application.
Second.
Okay, I will support that roll, starting with Commissioner Harris.
Yes.
Chief Oliver?
Yes.
Mr. Heil?
Yes.
Ms. Blair?
Yes.
Right, that is approved. Got one? All right, congratulations, Mr. Amison. Okay, I think the last thing is property acquisition. We do have, I guess, 2 areas, but a total of 4 vacant lots that we feel we could repurpose. These are in current foreclosure and going to sheriff's sale very soon. 1723 Sadler Street is a parcel. This is a demolition that happened in 20, I believe. And the owner has passed away, and it just fell through, the family did not keep up with the tax assessments on the property. If you can see, I'll point the cursor. This is all state-owned property back here. This is where the winery is. I'm sorry, this is the winery up here. It is state of Ohio owned, so I wish I could highlight this, but this is all state-owned back here. So Basically, if we should acquire this property, we may be able to request from the state the rest of this property that would include the winery. And I don't know, I believe we would probably market this whole area. But that, that's not really my area of expertise. But you can see that it's all overgrown. It's just a parcel that we kind of said that we would like to acquire in the future. We might have interest. And 201 and 203 Lane Street. These are two parcels again together. My cursor, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. This is right by the JC South area. So Lane Street comes into Wayne here, and here's the JC Monument. So these two parcels right here, we just feel would be a nice area for public space, public interest. So those are, 4 parcels in total, but 2 areas. And what we would need to do then is, next step would be to request a resolution from our city commissioners and pass that resolution over to the prosecutor, who will then post it as accordingly, that if there are no bidders on that property through sheriff's sale, that it would transfer right into the city of Sandusky Landbank.
I would move that we recommend that resolution to acquire these 4 properties. Also to add in, it'd be really good to get the Sadler one, because our county prosecutor apparently won't just take my word for it that we want the land.
I would second that motion.
I'd really like to wrap that one up.
Okay. All right, I will call the roll. Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Chief Oliver?
Yes.
Mr. Heil?
Yes.
Ms. Blair?
Yes.
All right, also approved. Okay, that gets through the agenda items. I don't know if anybody has anything that they want to discuss. If not, our next meeting is October 18th, if necessary. Just as a reminder, we usually try to have it the 3rd Monday of each month. If it's not necessary, I'll certainly let everybody know that we don't have any agenda items. So is there any discussion from anybody?
My only question is, I know we had talked a few meetings ago about the 5th, the vacancy. Do we know if we're closer? Should we reach out to Jonathan about that
I'm sure.
to try and fill that at some point?
Oh, the
I don't
5th
know.
vacancy on the
Yeah.
city
This committee is usually 5 people strong, and I think that would probably help speed things up in case like today, Chief and I almost had a conflict.
I can ask if Jonathan.
Okay, all right. I didn't know I didn't know if that was
I don't have anything to report.
I will, we'll bring that to the next meeting.
Yeah, that would be great.
All right, if there's nothing else, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Right. Thank you, guys.
Yes,
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.